Hi guys, welcome to week 5 of your manners training class online. I'm going to try to wrap some things up for you in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully things are coming together for you guys, mostly with your walking, your stays, and your attention. That's the majority of what we cover in this class. So I want to talk about the attention. That's the eye contact. There's 2 exercises that we've done in regards to that. I'm going to discuss both of them a little bit. In regards to the name call attention, so there's name call attention, which is calling the dog's name and having them look to your eyes. When I practice that, I tend to like to keep my food rewards behind my back or in my pocket, kind of at a sight, and that the dog has to look to my eyes, not staring at my treats or behind my back or anything like that. What I talked about a couple of weeks ago in regards to criteria for that, we want to think about how quickly does my dog look at me when I call their name, and how long do they hold eye contact. Really, really, really trust me when I say try to just work on the fast criteria first. Make it clear to your puppy that you like it best when they look quickly, or your dog, sorry, this is not puppy class, it's manners, or your young dog. Make it clear to them that you like it best when they look quickly based on how you offer your food reward. Only offer yes and food reward for the best responses when they look within, I'd say within about 2 seconds. Anything much over 2 seconds, they're probably a little bit distracted or looking around. So instead, only offer praise for those slower responses, food for the best stuff. That will keep your dog working on a curve, working on getting better and raising the bar. So that's your name call attention. The other attention exercise is impulse control attention. It involves not calling your dog's name. It's showing the food reward or toy, holding it away, being quiet, waiting for the dog to direct attention to you and rewarding that. Same kind of thing when you want to start raising criteria with that. You want to only offer food rewards to the faster responses. If they're slow or they stare at the food out here for too long and then they look, if it's not within about 2 seconds, they don't get the food that time, they only get a bit of praise, all right? So definitely you want to make that clear to your dogs before you start working on any length of eye contact. Make it clear to them that you like it best when they look quickly. Moving on in criteria, when you start working on the duration of eye contact, on how long they're actually holding the eye contact, you actually withhold reward to do that. You withhold reward until they hold eye contact for 2 or 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, probably 2 or 3 seconds to start. 3 or 4 seconds might be a little bit too long to ask from your puppies or your young dogs, but about 2 to 3 seconds, and I count in my head 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Okay, I don't count 1 2 3. I try to make it fairly steady and realistic. So I count in my head when the puppy holds eye contact for that amount of time. Then I mark and reward. If they look away before your 2 or 3 second criteria, they do not earn the food reward, okay? They really do have to learn to hold it for a certain amount of time. And then you can build on that. But trust me, if you build on your duration before you build on the fast criteria, you'll have a dog that takes a little while to look at you, even though they might stare at you for a while. With Riggs back here, I did not follow my own advice, and I started working on duration a little bit too quickly in his foundation, and very quickly I saw that he was slow to connect with me, even though he would hold eye contact once he did. So I very quickly was like, went back, reminded him I liked it better when he looked at me quickly. And then I got that very cleared up for him, and then I went back to working on duration like I typically would recommend. So that's your attention. So having said that, when you're working in areas of distraction, so I know there's not a lot of people out and about these days, but there are still more smells and sights and sounds in spring. So if you find that you're working in an area that is a little bit more distracting to your dog, take what you can get for attention. Try not to work on your criteria and on increasing those and making it harder for your dog when the environment got harder. If the environment is harder, make your exercises or the criteria that you expect from your dog easier. You will build on much more success that way. Work on your other criteria like your quick and your duration in areas like at home, in your own backyard, areas a little bit more free of distraction. All right, so heel position and walking, I want to talk to you guys about that. So usually in week 5, I would have people do some individual walking around the room so I could kind of watch your technique a bit better one-on-one and see your skills. I do appreciate that. Oh, actually, no, I don't know that I've got any videos from you guys. My puppy class has sent me lots of videos, but I don't know that I have any from my Tuesday Manners class. So yeah, make sure you get some videos into me so I can really see how things are going for you guys. Oh, I do have a video from Cooper. I do remember seeing that. That was an email and not in the group. But anyhow, please send me some videos of your progress. And yeah, so in regards to your heel position, last week I showed you how to kind of progress with it a little bit. We get our dogs into heel, ideally in a sit position there. Wait for them to give you a bit of eye contact and then reward, step away and bring your dog along with you one step at a time. If that's going well, you can progress to like a couple more steps away and then have them sit. Keep in mind that when you're working on that specific heel work, that is a little bit more rigid than your regular walking. So I might keep a food treat right there. I might keep really close eye contact and connection with my dog. And again, just taking a few steps and encouraging them to sit again. I'll show you a little bit with Riggs. And then I'm just gonna talk about loose leash walking in general and how to kind of progress with that. Come here, buddy, come here. So yeah, if I want to progress a little bit with my heel work, Riggs, heel, I'll bring him into heel. I keep my leash a little bit snugger. I'm not going to give him 6 feet of leash to go out and maybe make an error or maybe sit out of position, not quite where I want him to be. So I do keep my leash a little bit shorter for that, probably 2 or 3 feet. So I wait till my dog gets into position and gives me some attention. He holds some attention, he can earn a reward for that. And now I'm going to step off, I'm going to take just a few steps, I'm going to keep nice and connected with him, and then I'm going to ask him to sit. Actually, you can also, I don't have to with Riggs, but you can keep a food reward close if you need. Riggs heel. Sit. Yes. I do always bring my treat right to their nose to make that sit happen. Okay, bud. Again, we are kind of teaching them an area to target. This is the area to target, like right around your hip. Riggs heel. Yes, good boy. Okay. You can use a verbal if you like for the sit. You don't have to. I did in that moment. I'm not sure why. I don't usually. Riggs heel. I had to wait him out a little bit for eye contact. He was staring at the cookie. Staring at the cookie does not get the reward. Riggs heel. Yes, good boy. So you see, I'm keeping my food nice and close. I'm keeping my dog nice and close. If you do a lot of pulling that food away, they will jump. They will jump and grab. They will bite at your hands. So even if your dog is kind of licking at that treat, I do try to keep it like fairly close. Again, that's just for the very specific one step, couple step at a time, teaching that more rigid heel position. For your regular walking, okay buddy, for your regular walking, again, I cannot stress enough how Teaching your dog to follow the pressure of their leash is key in a solid walking foundation. So what I want you to appreciate with this little guy here is when I apply pressure to his leash, he shouldn't have just sat. He should have moved a bit. Yes, good boy. So again, we're working in a little bit of a closed space, and it's the end of the day, so he's on the sleepier side. I didn't want him to just sit or lay down. I wanted him to move a little bit towards me. Yes, okay. So he follows that pressure of his leash very easily. I offer him a reward for that. Practicing that in just stationary moments like this, yes, is helpful. It helps teach dogs that that's what you're really liking or really wanting, is for them to follow pressure rather than resist it like mine is at the moment, because he smells something. Yes, good boy. So that's a really key piece to your walking. As you progress though with outside walking and moving and going forward, we need to raise our criteria. And to do that, we need to ask for more loose and slack leash from our dog before we offer a reward. So what I do is when my dog is pulling, and next week I'm going to show you and kind of talk to you a little bit about how to do a proper correction. But until then, if my dog is pulling, I will wait until they release, or I will just change direction. So they have no choice but to follow me and come with me. I just change direction. That offers a bit of a natural correction. They have to follow. But I will praise the initial release of pressure, the release and that slack in the leash. I will offer some praise, but I will hold out for several strides, depending on the dog. Might be 2 or 3 strides, might be 5 or 10 strides of continued slack leash before I offer the food treat. All right, so we want to be weaning out our food reinforcements a bit, not giving them every 2 or 3 steps, but instead maybe every 5 or 7 steps, 8 or 10 steps, something like that. And sometimes mix it up for your dogs. Sometimes I will just treat. I will toss the treat kind of just by my left foot onto the ground. Come here, buddy. I know. Good boy. Let's go. So I'll do a little bit of walking with him. He's going to maintain a pretty loose leash. Good boy. I don't have any treats in my hand, but I'm staying connected with him. Yes, he's down there, bud. I don't always throw them on the floor for him, especially not in the house, so he doesn't know to look for that. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. Good boy. Yes. Get it. Good puppy. Good, and then I might end with raise heel, bringing him into heel a bit, get a little attention, eye contact. Yes, good job. I didn't have a treat ready, but that's fine. Okay, good boy. What a good job. So you can practice a lot of that around your house. Again, getting that foundation done in an area that's a little less distracting to your dog, like your own house or yard, is helpful for when you move into areas that are more distracting. It takes time. It takes time for them to gain confidence in their skills and to gain an understanding that they can perform these things and follow direction from you, even though the environment's changed and there's something that might be taking their attention. So practice. The weather's getting nicer. We don't have a lot to do these days. Get out, walk around with your dog. Practice rewarding that proper position. I almost said any questions. Okay, so I want to talk a bit more about jumping. A couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago I think, I talked to you about a negative reinforcement technique for dealing with jumping. Again, it is so much easier and better for me to explain this when I have a class dog that is jumping all over me. But the negative reinforcement way for dealing with jumping is, if a dog was jumping forward to me here, is for me to pressure into the dog. Do not do this with force. No knees, no pushing, nothing like that. But just a constant pressure into the dog indicates to them that you don't want them in your space. As soon as they take their feet off of you, good job. I offer a bit of praise, I step back. The step back is like the treat. There is no actual treat involved in the negative reinforcement exercise for jumping. The pressure off is the treat in that exercise. It's talking to dogs in a way that they really, really understand very well. So that's just a recap on that one. The positive reinforcement exercise for dealing with jumping is the more classic, classic scenario that everybody knows, the turn away method. Again, it's so hard for me to do this without a proper class and dog demo to do it with. This exercise involves having your dog on leash. It involves a little bit more prep and 2 people, or being able to tie or tether your dog to something. So your dog needs to be on leash, somebody's holding the dog. You walk in, if the dog jumps on you, you turn and walk away. Do that about 3 times, where you walk in, they jump, turn away. Do not say anything to them, just that's the immediate consequences that you flip around when they jump on you. You don't say off, you don't say no, you don't say nothing. You just turn and go. So do that about 3 times. Then the 4th time you go in, just before you get to the dog. So let's say this bag of treats is the dog. I'm going to put my dog outside for a moment. See that there? Yeah. So if that actually opens over here. Let's see. Okay, so if that bag of treats is the dog, that is, let's say I walk into the dog jumps on me, I turn and walk away. I have done that 3 times. So the 4th time I go in, again, someone is holding this dog on leash or it's tied to something. That is very important for this exercise. So I walk in. Before I get to the dog, before the jumping takes place, I toss a treat past the dog. Get it? And I instruct the dog to get it. I give them some sort of verbal permission to go and get that treat. What will happen is they will turn around to go eat that treat, and I continue to walk into them. They will feel that pressure. They will notice that I have continued to move forward. That will be a very different picture for them from when they put their feet on me and I moved away. So they will begin to learn that I do not jump before this person approaches. Treat is tossed. It creates the behavior we're looking for. They go eat that treat. I continue to walk in. They're learning a different behavior. They're learning to act a different way when people come into their space. If I hang out here with the dog and they continue to keep their feet on the ground, yes, I will continue to drop 1 or 2, not a dozen, but 1 or 2 food rewards to the ground as they continue to mull around my feet and not jump on me. My dogs all have fun when they come in. It's an excellent exercise. Both exercises complement each other very well. And there's method to my madness in how I present this material. I present the pressure in, negative reinforcement 1 first, because it complements this one. If the dog already has a bit of an understanding about that, they will catch on to this a little bit faster. And we're adding some food reinforcements to give the dogs really powerful information about what we like best. We like it best when you do not try to jump on me. I toss a treat to you. I come in anyways. You hang out. I toss a few more treats when you don't jump on me. Wow, what a difference from when you do jump on me and none of that happens. I just turn and walk away. So dogs are really good at figuring out what's in it for them and when they're gonna get more good stuff. So it's a really clear way to get that point across to them. I love that exercise. I love both of them. Again, what I like best about the negative reinforcement exercise is that there's no prep required, no treats required. You can get pretty good results even with bad timing or poor timing. The better your timing, the better everything will be. All right, recall, coming when called. I'd love to see some demos or videos on your recalls. Actually, I'd like to see recalls dealing with your jumping if possible, stays and walking for your videos. Recall. I cannot stress enough, if your dog does not have the natural inclination to follow, if they really have no recall at all, they need to be on leash. It's just not even an option to be off leash and run away from me. Not sure if I shared this with this group, but my Riggs puppy, as a young puppy, I was pretty convinced that I would never, ever, ever in my life be able to let him off leash. I thought, oh, how am I going to exercise this dog? He's so busy and I can't let him off leash. I have a fenced in yard, but even as a wee puppy, I did not let him off leash in my yard because he had so much fun running away from me, and he had no desire to follow me because he was the boss. He knew how to lead the day, so he didn't really need me for much. So I very quickly learned that he was different than the Aussie puppies I had had in past that happily plodded along behind me or followed me wherever I went, whenever I smooched, anything like that. Pop, pop, pop. Oh yeah, the Aussies would come running. Riggs, nah, he didn't care about that, not even a little bit. So within a day or two, I was always having this puppy on a leash, even outside in my fenced yard. Actually, I even had him on leash a lot in my house too, because he didn't care if I hey, didn't care. So I'd have to go follow through, and the leash gave me a little bit more leeway to be able to do that. So yeah, I had to prevent him from running away from me and encourage him to move into my space by me moving away from him. That is also key. Two big things. Keep them on leash if they're unreliable. Move away from them when you call them. Move away from them when you call them. It's not inviting for them to come into your space if you're moving towards them. Remember, that's how we're keeping them from not jumping on us. That's how dogs understand boundaries, is that when we push into their space. So if we're moving into their space when we're calling them, we're actually pushing them away from them, from us. So move away, keep them on leash when necessary. In areas that you consider fairly safe or relatively reliable for them, if you want to try them off leash, go ahead. Any opportunity that your dog is away from you is an opportunity to practice recall. Anytime. You may need to do something to get their attention initially if they're distracted or involved in a scent. I teach leave-its in my advanced class. I will touch on that with you guys next week a bit. But yeah, get their attention, let them know where you are, and immediately move away. Repetitive, short little tones like that will typically encourage them to move along faster. Once they're moving along with you, then I tend to call their name and come. Once they're already in that momentum of chasing you and moving forward, that's when I use my verbal name and come. So I don't tend to say it when they're standing still just staring at me. Remember, we want to pair up behaviors and words together. We want them to put those things together. That is part of how dogs learn. So if you're always saying come when they're standing still or not moving in the beginning, they may get the wrong idea. So I tend to say my verbal cue once they're already committed to moving in my direction. So I am going to demonstrate this one with Riggs. Riggs, come on. Come here, Josie. Josie had to check the floor really quickly. So I will leave him down here. Come here, buddy. Wait. Don't need to go very far, but what I want you to do is I want you to leave your dog. You can have someone hold them if they're not reliable to stay. Wait. I use a weight when I leave ahead. You're going to not go very far, just maybe 6 or so, 6-7 feet away from your dog. Call them as you're moving forward, all right? So I want your back to the dog. I want you to initially disconnect from them. Then I want you to look back and connect. Breaks come. Yes. I didn't have my treat ready. I was a poor trainer in that moment. I should have had my treat ready in my hand. When my dog gets up to me, I want to collect him with my one hand to the collar and one hand to offer him a food treat. So let me just demo that again. Wait. Disconnect initially when you walk away. Back to your dog. Then you're going to look over your shoulder, connect. Rigs come. Yes. Okay, once I capture my dog, I've got my hand in his collar, and then I offer him a food reward. Good boy. Couple kisses. Good boy. Good job. Woo. So I often, with Recall, will incorporate tug or games of toys, play, retrieve, whatever. Sometimes I might whip a tennis ball right past me as my dog is racing into me, just to encourage them to really zoom in really fast, and that it's fun and that they're not always going to be caught. Sometimes I play and then immediately release my dog again and let them go. I try to provide a bit of variation with my Recall because I don't ever want it to be boring. I want them to know it's fun. JoJo's a little slower under her Recall. She's got a great Recall, but Josie's always been the kind of dog that she goes at her pace. Always has. You ask her to hurry up and she stays steady. Unless she's running agility and she goes real fast. But yeah, she's funny that way. But she's always, like I said, she's always kind of been like that right from day one. Whereas this kid has always been a million miles a minute right from day one. So they're all a little bit different. Come on. Wait. I feel bad. Josie's up there by herself, so I'll stick him up there with her while she's waiting. Yeah, so that's your Recall. Again, leave your dog on a stay or have someone hold them and walk away. Initially disconnect with your back to the dog. Call them, run off, collect. If you're doing this by yourself, don't panic or worry too much about really making them stay if they decide to move on the Recall stay. Recall and stay are polar opposite exercises. And if you are continually going back and putting them back in the stay as you're walking away to try to call them to you, they may be conflicted about coming to you. So my advice generally to people is when you're working on stay, work on stay. And work on training your stay in that moment when you're working on stay. But if you're working on Recall in that moment, only go back once or twice and put them back on their stay, and don't be cranky about it, not even a little bit. Just go back and put them back. But if they break a third time as you're walking away to call them to you, let them come to you. That's what you're working on in that moment is Recall. So work on your stays another time. You just don't want to dampen their enthusiasm about wanting to get to you. In regards to your mat target, which is involving having your dog go to a visual mat or bed, continue to work on that. Last week I kind of showed you a little bit about raising the criteria. I talked about a couple of things with that. Continue to work downstays on that mat. Continue to work on sending them to the mat from various distances. And if they're getting really good at it, start taking your mat or dog bed into different environments and asking your dog to do what they know. So that's the beauty of that exercise, is it helps dogs to generalize what there is required of them or what they're supposed to do, even though the environment has changed. So you can start changing the environments with that one if you like, but keeping your kind of how you conduct the exercise and the visual target that they're going to lie down on, keep that the same, change the environment, see how your dog adapts. It will help them generalize that behavior. Last thing I'm going to show you and teach you is a hand target. We'll use Joe's for this one. Okay. She feels a little left out because I do most of these demos with Riggs. So hand target by itself is nothing too terribly fancy. but it is a nice behavior that you can use to build other behaviors from. And it simply involves having your dog target their nose to touch your hand. And kind of everyday uses for that might be getting in or out of a car, up or off of furniture. I use it a ton for just bringing my dogs back and encouraging them to reconnect with me after they've been distracted by something. It could be, I use it a lot on walks. If we're being barked at by other dogs. My Aussies were always a little bit reactive. Briar was awful. He got to be much better with the magical be still exercise, but he was the one that would be kind of get his back up the most about other dogs. But all my Aussies have always kind of noticed and like, oh, they want to grumble a little bit. So I've had to really teach them to leave it, which they were all great at. Riggs doesn't really care about other dogs so much, but he's distracted by it. So if he's being barked at or something, even though he doesn't react with like a growl or a bark in any way, I would like him to notice that a little bit less or come back and connect with me a little bit faster. I want that to be his habit. So as with all the dogs I've had, I kind of interrupt that behavior where they maybe are distracted by something on a walk, and I encourage them to come back and do a hand target. So I'll show you what that looks like with Josie. Hi, Josie. Hi, Josie. Hey. No, you don't have to get in the chair. We're not doing tricks. Touch, touch, touch. Good girl. Sit. Touch, touch. Yes. All right. So it simply involves your dog. Touch, touch, touch. Good girl. Heel. I use it a lot in heel position. Touch, touch. Yes. Just teaching my dog a little bit of focus. Touch. Just heel. Touch, touch, touch. Yes. All right. So again, by itself, it's a pretty simple little exercise. I've certainly taught tricks as well. My spin and my twist were all taught. Good girl. With hand targets, all my leg leaving behaviors with my dogs were all taught. Yes, with hand targets. Those are fun tricks. I don't train a ton of tricks, and I certainly don't teach them in class. But yeah, the hand target touch is a cool one. Again, mostly for just giving your dog something simple and fun to do to come back and connect with you. That is what I use it for most often. That's all I have. Oh, to teach the hand target. Sorry, I demoed it with a dog that already knew. To teach it, so normally I would bring a dog out to show how to teach that. When you teach it, it's so simple. You simply present your palm to your dog, fairly close. So with my dog, I did it a little bit further away because she knows it and I was doing a demonstration. For new dogs, you're going to keep very close. Your dog is naturally probably going to go and sniff your hand, mark with your yes word, and offer a food treat. If you find that your dog is hesitant to come towards your hand because maybe you've done this gesture for stay, use a fist for your hand touch instead of a palm. My difference, my fingers are always spread when I say stay to my dog, stay. And I always have my fingers kind of as a solid close together when I ask them to touch. That's how I make it different. But I'm a quirky dog girl, so I don't expect everyone to remember that. This can be your touch, this can be your stay, all right? We didn't work on stays tonight other than me just talking a little bit about how to do it on your mat targets. Just to kind of recap or talk technique a little bit about your stays. Continue working your stays. Once you've got some solid duration, once you've got a good 30 to 45 seconds that your dog will hold a stay position, which means they hold it until you tell them they're done. If you've got a good solid 30 to 45 seconds at, let's say, a 2 to 3 or 4 foot distance, take another big step back, right? Go a little bit further. Don't go 5 feet further. Take one big step back. Make sure you've got some solid duration first. Only do that if you want a nice solid stay. Otherwise, do whatever you like. But yeah, so make sure that you're stepping into your dog to offer a food reward. And repeat your stay. Coach. If your dog moves at any time, sit. If your dog moves at any time, hands right on their collar. put them right back. Good girl, Jules. Stay. She says she didn't even tell me to stay, but you always want to capture them and put them back. Okay, Jules. Okay. Yeah, that's really about it for your stays. Definitely start increasing your distance a little bit if you've got some solid duration. If you are still working on that duration part of it, please send me a video, send me a message, ask me a question on how I can help or how I can fix that for you. Keep up the good work. I hope everyone is enjoying the videos and training. I will offer an advanced class as well. I'll talk to everyone about that next week. And yeah, send me some messages. Keep in touch. Have a good night.